A transition curve is essentially used to options generate more frictional forces for stability, allow vehicle to have increased speed while driving, negate the effect of centrifugal forces, avoid abrupt change in radius from a straight line to finite radius curve. Okay, in transition curves, okay, transition curve means a curve which is provided when a straight line rod meets a circular curve. In between these two stretches we are providing transition curves. Okay, transition curves are mainly not supposed to use to increase the friction. Okay, they are not supposed to use for frictional forces. They don't develop frictional forces, and the main purpose is smooth geometry. Okay, to give a smooth geometry than force generation. So option A is not our answer. Next, allow vehicle to have increased speed while driving. That's also not correct. Here the primary purpose is not speed enhancement but to ensure comfort, safety during the entry to the circular curve. Okay, and next one, negate the effect of centrifugal force. That is also not correct. Okay, what is a centrifugal force? Its centrifugal force act outwards on a turning vehicle. If a vehicle is turning in a curve, centrifugal force act outwards. Okay, centrifugal force act outwards, and it helps to manage the centrifugal force more gently. Okay, the transition curve helps to manage the centrifugal force gently, and it never negate the effect of centrifugal forces. Okay, next one is avoid abrupt change in radius from straight line to finite radius curve. That is correct. Okay, it allows a gradual change. It allows a gradual change from this straight path. The straight path is having infinite radius. The radius of the straight path is infinite, and it allows a gradual change from straight path to this circular curve. Okay, this circular curve is having constant radius. Okay, and this one transition curve also ensures comfort, stability, and it also reduces the lateral jerk. Okay, so option D is our answer. Clear? In designing curves based on maximum friction, the minimum radius is given by. Four equations are given: v square by g, v square by nu tan theta, v square by tan theta, v square by nu g. Okay, this question is related to circular motion of vehicle in curved path. Okay, and here in circular motion of vehicle in curved path, where the friction prevents the skidding. Okay, here frictional force is equal to frictional force is equal to centripetal force, and frictional force is mu into weight, coefficient of friction into weight, and it is equal to mv square divided by r, and we need to find the value of r. W is weight. Weight is nothing but mu into mg, mass into acceleration due to gravity. That is equal to m into v square divided by r. We can cancel these two m's from both sides, and radius of curve r is equal to v square divided by mu into g. So option D is our answer. The ideal transition curve is called. They are asking the shape of ideal transition curve. Transition curves are curves of varying radius. Okay, and its radius is changing from infinity to a fixed value r. Okay, and it is generally provided when there is a change in horizontal alignment from a straight path to a circular path. In between these two we are providing a transition curve. Okay, And railway board has decided that on Indian railways transition curve will normally be laid in the shape of cubic parabola. Okay, so as per Indian Railway, the ideal shape of transition curve is cubic parabola. Okay, and as per IRC, Indian Road Congress, the ideal shape of transition curve is spiral. Okay, and these spiral curves are ideal in highways. Okay, so as per railway standards, cubic parabola is ideal, and as per Indian Road Congress, spiral is ideal. But as per theoretical consideration, the best shape of transition curve is clothoid. So theoretically, ideal transition curve is clothoid. So our answer is option A, clothoid. Okay, and if they are asking as per Indian Railway standards, it is cubic parabola. As per IRC, it is spiral. As theoretically, it is clothoid. So the shape of ideal transition curve is clothoid. Next question. In case of vertical curves, a 3% gradient means that the ground rises. Options are 1 meter for every 3 meter, 0.03 meter for every meter. I think they have given 0.3. Okay, some mistake might be in this option. Okay, 0.03 meter for every 100 meter and 3 meter for every 100 meter. 3% gradient implies 3% gradient means there is a vertical rise of 3 meter for every 100 meter horizontally. Okay, and percentage gradient can be calculated by rise or fall. Okay, it can be rise or fall divided by horizontal distance into 100. Here rise or fall is 3 meters and horizontal distance is 100 meter into 100 will give you the percentage gradient, that is 3%. So option D, 3 meter for every 100 meter is our answer. Clear? Next question. In the case of vertical curves, the curves are generally in the form of options: simple circular curves, simple reverse curves, compound curves, parabolic curves. Okay. In the case of vertical curves, we are mainly using parabolic curves. Okay, vertical curves are generally in the form of parabolic curves. So option D is our answer. Okay, vertical curves are mainly used in roads and railways. Okay, and it is used to provide a smooth transition between different grades. Okay, we are using vertical curves to provide a smooth transition. Okay, and it is generally in the shape of parabolic in nature. It is generally in parabolic in nature, and it ensures a constant rate of change of gradient, and also it provides comfort and safety. Okay, and this makes calculation easier for elevation, side distance and grade compensation. Okay, so our answer is parabolic curve. Option D is our answer. In the case of vertical parabolic curves, the rate of change of gradient is the rate of change of gradient. We already told the answer in the last question. The rate of change of gradient is constant. Vertical curves are mainly two types. Summit curves are there and valley curves are there. And the shape of this vertical curve is mainly parabolic. Okay. And what is the speciality here? Here vertical offset from tangent point varies with the square of the horizontal distance. Okay, and that means the gradient or the slope changes linearly, and hence the rate of change of gradient is constant. Okay, so the rate of change of gradient is constant. Okay, and this condition ensures a smooth change. Okay, and it provides driver comfort and also proper side distance, and also maintains the curve a structurally simple one. Okay, so rate of change of gradient is constant in the case of a vertical parabolic curve. Option D is our answer. Clear? Next question. A compound curve has options: a simple circular curve and a transition curve at one end. A simple circular curve and a transition curve at one end. This is the definition of a transition curve, that is not a compound curve. Okay. A simple circular curve and transition curve at both ends. This also defines the configuration of a transition curve. Okay. Next, the equation of clothoid. That's a spiral transition curve. This is spiral transition curve. And the next option is two or more simple circular curves of different radii. That is correct. That is a compound curve. Okay, and this is the image of a compound curve. You can see that a compound curve is formed by connecting two or more simple circular curves, okay, that are having different radii. Okay, and this shares a common tangent. Okay, and these are having different radius. Okay, it is typically used when we are having some space constraint or we need to transit smoothly between a straight curve and curved section, or a single radius curve doesn't provide a desired alignment. In these kind of situations we are using compound curve. Clear? Next question. A reverse curve is one. Options: with a simple circular curve and transition curve. A simple circular curve and transition curve form a compound curve or transition curve, that is not a reverse curve. Where a simple circular curve is set from second tangent point in the reverse direction, that is also geometrically not possible. Having two simple circular curves with centers in opposite direction, that is our answer. Okay, two simple circular curves with centers in opposite direction, that is a reverse curve. So option C is our answer. Next option, having half circular and half cubic parabola as a compound curve. That also a composite curve, not a reverse curve. So that option is also not correct. Okay, and while coming to the reverse curve consists of two arcs and that curves in the opposite direction, and it is connected at a common tangent point. Okay, and it looked like an S shape. Okay, it is having an S shape and the centers of arcs are lying in the opposite direction, and it is used in case where there is a change in alignment needed, or without shifting the lateral position too much. Okay, in those cases we are using. Okay, we can use this reverse curves in railways and road designs where a smooth transition is needed between the opposite curves. Okay, so our answer is option C. Next question. The term shift is used in transition curve is option A, the movement of center of the circular curve due to introduction of transition curve. The movement of circular curve inverts to accommodate the transition curve. The movement of tangent of the circular curve because of the transition curve. The shift in the point of intersection to accommodate the transition curve. When a transition curve is inserted between a straight path and a circular curve, okay, the circular arc needs to shift slightly inward to maintain the connectivity. Okay, this circular curve is slightly shifted inward to maintain this connectivity. Okay, this inward movement of the center is called the shift. Okay, the inward movement of the circular curve towards the center is called the shift, or towards inner side is called the shift. Okay, it's a geometric adjustment. Okay, it ensures continuity of curvature and it ensures comfort and also safety for drivers. Okay, and it avoids the abrupt directional change. So option B is our answer. B is our answer. The movement of circular curve inverts to accommodate the transition curve. So option B is our answer. Clear? A smart station is options: a total station with software to calculate and display many quantities, a total station with an integrated GPS module, with display units on both sides, a total station attached to computer. The answer is option B. A total station with an integrated GPS module is known as smart station. Okay, so smart station is a type of total station. Okay, it is a type of total station and it is equipped with GPS module. GPS means global positioning system module. Okay, and it also helps us to allow real-time positioning. Okay, it helps in real-time positioning. Okay, without relying solely on local reference points and all. Okay, and it enhances the geospatial accuracy. Okay, it enhances the geospatial accuracy. Okay, and this makes it powerful for construction of topographical survey and GIS mapping. Okay, and our answer is option B. Total station with an integrated GPS module is a smart station. Next question. Remote sensing is collecting information without being in contact with the objects, measuring angles, measuring heights, using a total station to collect data about the terrain. Our answer is option A. Collecting information without being in contact with the objects is known as remote sensing. Okay, and remote sensing remote sensing mainly refers to gathering information about objects or areas from a distance, okay, without being in contact. And we can use satellites, drones, aircrafts, and sensors and scanners for remote sensing. Okay, and it is widely used in geographic information system GIS and for mapping land use and agricultural mapping. Okay, and disaster monitoring like floods and wildfires, and it is also used in climate studies, oceanography, etc. Okay, the key aspect is no direct physical contact with the observed subject. Clear? Also option A is our answer. In active remote sensing, an internal energy source is used for remote sensing, an external energy source is used for remote sensing, continuous emission of energy is used, continuous receiving of radiation is done. And our answer is option A, an internal energy source is used for remote sensing. Okay, in active remote sensing, the system itself emits energy and this energy will be in the form of microwave or laser pulses. Okay, and this system emits energy towards a target and then it detects the energy reflected back. Okay, and this is the difference from passive remote sensing. In passive remote sensing, we are relying mainly on natural resources like sunlight. Okay, and this technology can be used in radar. Okay, radar and lidar and sonar. Okay, and the energy type in radar is microwave. Okay, and in lidar we are using laser, and sonar we are using sound waves. Okay, and radar is used for tracking terrain and rainfall. Okay, and lidar is used for measuring elevation and vegetation. Okay, and sonar is used in underwater depth and mapping. Okay, and these systems work even at night, okay, or throughout cloud cover since they don't rely on the sunlight. So option A is our answer. In active remote sensing, and internal energy source is used for remote sensing. Clear? Scattering is when the source emits energy in all directions, when the emitted and received radiations are different, diffusion of radiation due to atmosphere, a defect in the scanning system. Option C is the correct answer. Diffusion of radiation due to atmosphere is known as scattering. Okay, and scattering refers to the process where an electromagnetic radiation like light or microwave is deflected in multiple directions due to the interaction with the atmospheric particles such as dust, water vapor and other gases. Okay, this phenomenon is essential in remote sensing. Okay, and it affects how sensor detect light and radiation from the Earth's surface. Okay, and there are different types of scattering. okay, Rayleigh scattering and Mie scattering, okay, and it determines the blue color of sky and red sunset and all. Okay, and this particle size are much smaller, okay, and the particles like air particles or water particles, these particles size will be much smaller in scattering. Okay, and our first option, when the source emits energy in all direction, this it describes the radiation. This is not scattering, this is the radiation. Okay, and when the emitted and received radiations are different, that is nothing, something like absorption or something. Okay, so option C is the answer. Diffusion of radiation due to atmosphere or particles in the atmosphere is known as scattering. Clear?